What's up, guys? Josh Pate here from 24/7 Sports. We continue the social distance series. We welcome in a very familiar face. You probably know him regardless of what walk of life you live in. He went to UVA, starred there, starred for the New York Giants. He starred in like 47 different brands of TV and radio. He works for CBS Sports Radio right now. And I've succeeded because he's laughing before I've even tossed to him. Tiki Barber, how are you today, my man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Good to chat with you.
We were hooking up and I've already looked at your background and you've got pretty much everyone, including us, beat. You understand how this whole game works. So let me ask you, background notwithstanding, what has your life period been like the last few months?
Yeah, it's been unique, but I'm not actually complaining about it like a lot of people are. I still have a job. That's one thing that it's really serious in this country. People have lost their jobs, but because of the nature of radio and television, because we're simulcast on CBS Sports Network via Zoom, I can do my job from my home, which has made my life a little bit less commuter heavy. I'm spending a lot of time with my kids, which I'm loving. But it is challenging. You don't get to, see your friends as you usually do, and do the things that you normally would do when the summer comes around, like head down to the shore or do things like that in New Jersey. And so it's been challenging, but it actually hasn't been that bad, all things considered. And most importantly, everybody's been healthy.
Have you found, it used to, everyone at one point or another has said, man, I wish I just never had to go to work and I could work from home. And then it becomes a reality. So
Yeah.
let's say pandemic notwithstanding, let's say you were just given this opportunity, period. Do you find it easy to compartmentalize time and to be able to totally separate and here's work time, here's home time?
Yeah, I have been, and it's fortunate for me that my wife is amazing with the kids. I have two girls here. I have six in total, but two are here with me. Four live up in Connecticut with my ex-wife, but she's great with separating them from daddy's work time. And so I don't hear any loud noises. There's no banging. There's no screaming and running down the hall, fighting, etc. So I'm fortunate because I have a fantastic wife. But I think the other side of this is it means I can do my show from everywhere. And 2 years ago, I ran the Jerusalem Marathon. I had a Comrex machine. This was before we were on television. Maybe it was 3 years ago. I had a Comrex machine. I took it to Israel and broadcast my show. It was like 8 o'clock at night at that time. And it sounded just like I was in studio. So what I think technology has made media accessible and doable almost anywhere you are. And so the one thing that this pandemic has taught me professionally is that no matter where I have to be, I can always do my job, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's like LSU football, Stone Age forever. And then all of a sudden last year, they totally open it up and people look around and
That's
they
right.
say, wait a second, were we always capable of this?
Maybe.
There you go. So you look around right now. I mean, your playing days are over, but I assume you're in touch with a whole lot of guys who are still playing the game. A, what kind of stuff is talked about that maybe isn't so much on the public radar? And B, where would your mind be? You're a
Yeah.
pro football player right now. Where would your mind be amid all the uncertainty?
Yeah, the first part of your question I'll answer, and I think you started to see this. It exploded probably 3 4 years ago in the NBA. But what a lot of football players are talking about is brand building and creating this identity outside of the helmet. We have always been, football players that is, have been at a disadvantage relative to the other sports because you literally can't see their faces. And so unless you become a star and you start doing some commercial work, or yet you have a certain trait that draws people to you, like a Pat Mahomes, who's just amazing as an athlete and an accomplishment so far in his young career, you're often anonymous. I mean, you could be, a superstar on your team and walking down the street, nobody will know who you are. And so I think brand building has become a big part of what these guys are talking about. And I have a company, Tsu.social, where we do live events with current and former athletes. And that's one of the things that we use to get them to come be a part of it, because they're talking, they're out, they're expressing their personalities and displaying who they are to the general public and to commercial potential clients. I think from an actuality standpoint, given what's going on to the pandemic, the second part of your question, I'd be nervous right now. Not necessarily because I'd fear for my health if I got sick, but you just don't know what's going to happen downstream. So if I got sick, I probably would recover, but what damage was done and when would I feel that? More importantly, who am I passing this on to? Was my family or my kids or someone who's more vulnerable? That's why you're scared. That's why athletes are scared right now about the restart of their seasons, both in the NBA. We're seeing it in Major League Baseball, and now the NFL is talking about, potentially giving some opt-outs to guys if they decide they don't want to play. It's something you have to take seriously. Guys have underlying conditions. Sometimes you don't know about it. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a running back. His name was LaShawn Johnson, who played for us in New York. Routine chest X-ray showed he had lymphoma, and he didn't know. He had no idea. It was because of his yearly physical. He found this issue, and it really saved his life. So you never really know, even though you feel like you're in great shape and you're a fantastic athlete, you just really never know.
You talked about brand building there, and it really circles back to the heart of one of the most predominant conversations going on at the collegiate athletic level right now, and that is
That's right.
NIL. It used to be National Letter of Intent, NLI. Now it's NIL, name, image, and likeness. And Tiki, I've noticed a wide variety of reactions. Some people are terrified by it. Some people are very excited by it. And
Yeah.
then I would say the vast majority are just kind of, I have no clue what to make of this. So
Yeah.
you have a very pronounced opinion on this. Give me your take, and then we'll dive into it a little bit.
Yeah, so I think, when I was playing, when I was, God, it's been so long now, but 20 plus years ago, when I was at the University of Virginia, I didn't even think about my brand, and social media wasn't around. I think, the internet was just starting to get popular in the early to mid 90s, when I was a student at UVA. But if I was playing now, if I was a college student now, and I had had the success that I had had at UVA, had winning big games like we did against Florida State in 1995, people were taking notice. And there's a way that you're able, just in a just basic American consumerism and capitalism, you build a brand, you should be able to capitalize on it. Now, I think one of the biggest issues that the NCAA has had for so long is, well, how do you do this? Like, where does the money come from? It's not, existing funds. It's new funds. It's new eyes. It's new brands that want to associate with the brand of the players. And I think, come 2021, when they ultimately decide how this is all going to work out, I think you're going to see a lot of college athletes taking advantage of this. And it's not just, the superstars that we're talking about. It could be, a lacrosse player or a soccer player who wants to put on a camp and be paid to do that camp in the summer. Currently, they can't do that. And so it's an evolution of how the student athlete is viewed from a commercial standpoint, which I think has been a long time coming.
The thing you said that I don't believe a vast majority of people in this conversation, quite frankly, on either side of the conversation grasp, is you said it's not taking away from current revenue.
That's
It
right.
is adding revenue streams. And it's
That's
this
right.
revenue stream that's always been there. It just hasn't been
Hmm.
tapped because there's been basically a dam holding it back. And a lot of folks that get scared, oh, this is going to completely crumble the fabric and the landscape and foundation of college football, college basketball. I don't think that's the way to look at this. The way to look at it
No.
is the way you just said it. It's not doing that at all. It's adding potential that wasn't there before because it wasn't allowed.
Yeah, and most importantly, it creates this meritocracy. You're not just going to get, revenue coming into you because you're a guy on a team, right? You kind of have to earn it. You have to put in the hard work and the dedication and differentiate yourself and have consistent success so that on Saturday afternoons or Thursday or Friday, whenever you happen to be playing, whatever sport it may be, that people are taking notice and that they're aware of your successes, and they start to drive, their eyes to see you and watch you and engage you. And then when that happens enough times, brands will say, "Well, I want to associate with that guy. He's a good student, right? He's smart. He's got the right kind of brand that associates with us, and he's a successful athlete." I think those things are necessary for college sports, because one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough, I mean, it used to, but it really doesn't anymore, is a lot of student athletes, even if they're on full scholarship, they're not making, there's not enough money for them to fully be, worry free, right? They're worried about where their meals are coming in the off season. They're worried about, how am I going to, do X, Y, and Z, go on a date or get my mom a gift or whatever it may be. And this is a way to help bridge that in some regards, especially for those guys who do really well for themselves.
So I think it's pretty common sense once you start talking about this. Everyone realizes a lot of these guys, even in high school, even at 14 years old,
That's
have
right.
vast social media presences on various platforms. And so I know you're involved conceptually with a really, as soon as I read the idea, it just
Yeah.
clicked. It's like the light
Yeah.
bulb goes on. Why didn't I think of that? Well, good. So
Yeah.
at least someone did think of it. So walk us through, because most people don't know what we're talking about here. So walk
Yeah.
us through what the product is and what
Yep.
its intention is.
So the new product, it's a new social product, just like all the other social platforms that you're used to. Sue is a social network that allows brands and athletes and consumers to all interact in a way that it's transparent and clear. And it's TSU. You can find it at Tsu.social, TSU.social. And it's really any influencer. So an influencer could be a student athlete. An influencer could be a mom who has a large following in a local community. An influencer could, as you were just alluding to, be a 14-year-old kid who's just a prodigy, whatever that sport may be. Let's say golf or basketball, like Zion Williamson, who has a way a platform to engage with people. Right now, you do that on Twitter and Instagram and everything else, and ads are sold against that content. But the influencer doesn't see any of that revenue. What Sue is going to do is split that revenue with the influencer. So let's use Zion Williamson as an example. So Zion Williamson at 13 years old, he was a behemoth, and at 15, he's dunking on, in the AAU tournaments, and taking the world by storm on YouTube and everything else. And he has his own social platform. He's probably got 800,000 followers, but there's no way for him to monetize that. It's being monetized, but it's not being monetized for him. What Sue allows a student athlete or a young athlete or any type of influencer to do is monetize their brands by a revenue share. There will also be a store. So as it gets more fluid or more concrete, these relationships with brands, you can say, go buy XYZ Tupperware in my store because I use this when I cook, or I like these shoes when I'm running, and I've run the marathon now, 15 times, and I broke my PR. Here, I like these shoes. Buy these shoes from my store. And so I think it's just a unique way, a new way to look at how social media can work economically for influencers. That includes student athletes.
I mean, I don't know how people can listen to the idea and not at least be drawn into it and not at
Yeah,
least realize, oh, there's mass appeal here.
that's right.
So take me through the progress and the process. Where is Sue now? What are the
Yeah.
next steps? And when will it be something, do you think, in the timeline that has truly entered the mainstream and everyone realizes and recognizes that brand?
Yeah, so this spring was the original launch, the relaunch of Sue, because Sue existed before. This is a second iteration of Sue, brought by John Akunda, and I think one of the most important things that he's doing, as right now, that is that he's pausing, he's beta testing. So there's a bunch of us influencers who are advocates, who are buying in, and we're creating pages, and we're testing and finding the bugs and everything else. But I think once the pandemic starts to slow, that's when it will get launched, and probably around the start of sports, when sports restart, not just professional sports, but college sports as well. And we know how that's been affected already. A lot of conferences have canceled or at least postponed their fall sports, so that could push it back a little bit. But to answer your question, about when this becomes mainstream and when it becomes, widely accepted, I think when you start seeing the success stories, when you start seeing the influencer who says, "Man, I used to do this and get nothing, but now here I am, and I've made $500 this month because of the content that I've created and been able to monetize." I think it really takes off once the NCAA determines the protocols for name, image, and likeness, which again will likely be sometime in March or April of 2021, when they figure out how to address this on a national level, and what involvement the NCAA should have. That's when it really takes off, because student athletes who are very aware, especially football players and basketball players who are very aware of their brands, will dive right into this as quickly as they could on a 100-degree day in a pool.
Yeah, I get the feeling if you and I met again, right, well, hopefully in a studio, but met again this time next year, I really feel like this conversation will have totally morphed, and now
Yeah.
everyone will have taken a dive in, and no
Yeah,
one will
that's
really
right.
be indifferent or on the fence anymore.
That's right.
But it's really, really cool stuff. One more time, it is Tsu.social, correct?
Tsu.social is how you find it online, or just go to the App Store and with your cell phones, and you can download it at Tsu. Just search for Tsu, and you'll find it. TSU.
Tiki Barber, a pleasure, my friend. It's really fun. I appreciate you taking some time to do this with us, and I hope we can do it again soon.
We got to do it again for sure. Hopefully in person next time, and not like really socially distant, like over
I'm
the
gonna
internet socially distant.
let me high five my computer screen. That's as close
Yeah,
as I'm gonna get.
exactly. There we go.
I appreciate you, man.
Be good, brother.
Have a good one.